Oprah, Robert Urich, and a near cast of thousands honor America and promote literacy. What a country! Battle of the Network shows. Join Rick Brooks and Mike Kogel as they explore the TV of the 70s and 80s through hand-picked episodes of their favorite and not-so-favorite series.
Welcome to Battle of the Network shows. I'm Mike.
And I'm Rick. Hello, everyone.
And happy 4th of July.
Yes, happy Independence Day, as we say here in the States.
That's right. And if you're in Canada or elsewhere, well, just enjoy the day.
That's right.
It's a nice day. Or maybe you're in France, and I know Bastille Day is around this time. So be celebrating that.
We want all our listeners to be happy. And I want to give a special shout out to our listeners in elsewhere. We haven't done many shows from there, but maybe we got a few on the list, and maybe we'll get there eventually.
I don't know about elsewhen, though. Or is every show from elsewhen?
Well, if it's not right now, I guess that would make it elsewhen.
Yeah.
But does it depend on when you're listening to the podcast? I don't know.
I don't know. Is that an else why question? An else how? That's an else how.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
These are some of the questions that the founding fathers grappled with, Mike. So it's really appropriate that we're celebrating the season and the holiday by delving into some of this. But
and of course, journalists used to grapple with else when, else who, else why, else how, and else to what extent.
Exactly right.
Yes.
Yes.
The 5 elses.
Yes. Lou Grant was a stickler for those, Yeah.
Yeah.
You had to get the 5 elses in your story or else he wasn't running it.
That's right. Three attributed sources and the 5 elses.
Exactly, yes.
And the 5 W's.
Yeah, that's why that LA paper, the LA Tribune, it was a pretty thick paper. It would take you a couple hours to get through it, on an average weekday.
But only 3 stories.
Yeah. Had to make them count.
If you can tell from all the banter, we're talking about the ABC's A Star-Spangled Celebration.
I'm sure everybody guessed that by listening to what we're talking about here, yes.
From St. Louis and other locations.
Yes, and not only did it celebrate, America and United States history, but it celebrated literacy, advocating literacy, which is appropriate because, of course, Ed Asner of Lou Grant strongly believed that reading was fundamental, and I happen to agree with him on that one.
Yes, and of course he was on this program. Wait, no, he wasn't.
Yeah, what was he? Why wasn't he, actually?
I don't know. There were some representatives of a certain presidential administration there.
Well, let's not go there. This is a fairly nonpartisan event.
Yeah.
But we did have a special appearance by the wife of the Vice President of the United States.
Yes.
I don't want to give things away. But,
right, yeah.
With that kind of billing. And what was her name? I don't know if they even said it, actually.
Yeah. No, I don't think the announcer did in a billboard.
Yeah.
But
she was not introduced by name.
Introduced as Mrs. George H.W. Bush.
Yeah. Well, it was still a good get, but yeah. So this is an interesting concept here. Instead of just having a celebration for Independence Day, they decided to make it issue driven and support literacy. So you'll get like say billboards and numbers you can call and celebrity testimonials and most of all, of course, entertainment.
Yes. And
this is the 3-hour program. Yeah. Whittled down on the version that we saw.
Right. Yeah. And people or non-celebrity testimonials, people who learn to read later in life.
Yeah, I skipped past those. I didn't care about them. No, I did. I watched those. I'm proud of it. Each and every one of them.
Yes. Yeah.
That seemed to be a recurring theme. Is like it's never too late. It was definitely geared at adult illiteracy.
Yeah.
Which our 0 to 2-year-old demographic. They're not necessarily literate yet, but they have time. So
right. Yeah.
I can kind of understand that approach, I guess.
Geared towards adults, but also just a general message of, hey, stay in school. Yeah. And part of it was about just it'll make your life better and allows you to fully participate in democracy. And then there was an economic angle that is better for our country's economy if people can read, but also it's better for your personal pocketbook if you can read, which was an interesting take.
What an 80s message that was.
Yes.
I now that you mentioned, I kind of expected Michael Douglas to show up and say, read, for lack of a better word, is good.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah, actually, that would have been, I gotta say. They didn't quite do that. But yeah, that's an interesting angle on it, not just about personal development, but sort of like civic duty and like the overall benefit of the economy. And that's a point they made multiple times in the program, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But combines advocacy for literacy with patriotism and all kinds of glimpses of Americana. Interesting special. And, well, when we selected this, interesting way to celebrate the summer by watching this and everything. But the recording that we watched it's not quite up to par.
Yeah.
And so we missed a few things. And there were some like rolling screen blackouts, especially in the early part. But I still want to give a thanks to the uploader because there's not a lot of information about this special that I found anywhere. And I appreciate the person for posting it online. And, we've talked before about how the real American heroes are the people that upload Rare TV to YouTube. So
Yes.
I'll give a little applause. And, there's nothing more American than providing something for nothing to people like me that just want to see it.
Yes. And one day we're going to put on a variety show celebrating America's uploaders.
Yes.
Of rare vintage TV.
I think we should, yes.
Yes.
Like the night of 100 uploaders or something like that.
Yeah. All anonymous.
Yeah, right.
But they know who they are.
Yes.
All of those people, maybe we can send invitations to them and say, we'll give you a copy of this video, possibly not in full condition, and you're feel free to upload.
I think that's a capital idea.
Speaking of Capital, this again was on ABC or owned by Capital Cities ABC.
Yeah.
So they kept pointing out.
Yeah, they were really trying to make that a thing, weren't they? I don't remember that at the time.
No.
Like I don't remember even really hearing about Capital Cities until it sold ABC. Whereas like I guess like you and I, we knew GE owned NBC.
Yeah.
Partly because, David Letterman would be making fun of them, right?
Right, yeah.
In CBS, it seemed like that had some kind of like, often they would have some kind of weird boardroom drama going on with CBS and Larry Tisch or something, I don't know. Whereas ABC seemed to be a little bit more under the radar for a while there until Disney came in and took over. But Capital Cities, I don't have a strong opinion right now towards Capital Cities.
No.
I don't think I did in 1987 either.
Yeah. They seemed very behind this push for literacy, working with PBS to do some stuff.
Yeah, that was interesting. PBS, PBS traditionally, and on this night was no exception, PBS owns the 4th of July, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
I hope that they, assert that, and that's one of their big things. Like, we own the 4th of July.
Yeah.
They try to intimidate everybody else from even competing with them anymore because I don't even know. Is 4th of July programming a big thing these days? I don't really think so.
I don't think so. Or they turn it into some rockin' New Year's Eve type thing.
Yeah. I think the main thing is the hot dog eating contest, which I think ESPN shows during the day. So it's probably like sports, and then you'll get like more traditional concert shows like on PBS and things like that, I think.
Yeah.
But this was a night, as we'll get into, where there were multiple options for Independence Day themed viewing on July 4th. So was the country different back then? Yeah, I think it probably was.
Yeah.
And actually, before we get into it, let me just say that a lot of times we'll talk about the 70s and 80s. I really do think that watching this show, this is all I'll say about it, but it did take me back to what I think was a simpler time. And yes, when we talk about nostalgia and thinking about like the 80s, yeah, granted it wasn't better for everybody, but it was better for me, just general. And I think the fact that we can sit here and watch this and just kind of like think, oh yeah, not everybody was on the same page, but people coming together, and there just seemed to be more of an innocence. Whereas today you'd be watching this and you'd kind of assume everything was agenda driven.
Yeah.
And even a little bit of that, you can kind of look at it, but it's totally different. 35 years ago or whatever, it was just totally different back then. You could have this kind of entertainment and this mass entertainment with this patriotic theme, and it just comes off more sincere. I don't know. I like it.
Yeah, I think this, besides it being a big variety extravaganza, it would be hard to see right now. Like, I just feel like it would be either seen as, I feel like only one side would tackle this issue, and the other side would look at it as some sort of propaganda for something.
I mean, essentially having the wife of the vice president of the United States on, it was not really seen as a partisan thing, I don't think, back then. That is pretty much like as neutral as you can get. It's more like an official capacity rather than a political capacity, whereas now it would probably be politicized right away. But, I just didn't get that vibe from this. And we can talk about, we've sort of mentioned like some of the thematic, the emphasis on capitalism. And I don't know if you did any exploration into the organization that does this fair in St. Louis, the VP.
No, I looked long enough because I couldn't tell if they were saying VP or BP.
Yes.
And then I saw it was VP, and then I forgot to
Yes.
See what the VP stood for.
I thought it was the BP fair at first, and I thought
Yeah.
Bob Hope had his competing Texaco fair on NBC.
Yeah.
But no, it was like VP, like veiled, stands for veiled profit. Yeah, and I can tell by your face that's
Profit, PH or F?
PROPHET, and it was sort of like a secret, a semi-secret, like pseudo society.
Wait,
Okay.
is this the thing Ellie Kemper got in trouble for having won some?
I don't know. I can't speak to that.
Okay, because there was some organization that she won like some thing, and then it turns out it has a bad. And I don't want to get.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because like so they call it VP, but shortly after this presentation, they kind of phased that out.
Yeah,
And
okay.
its origins, I think it's one of those things where if you dig deep in anything, its origins were maybe not pure.
Yeah.
It was just like sort of like designed to. There's an article I read that was arguing that it was designed to sort of help fight labor cooperation, and it was like sort of I mean, it was kind of like the whole thing. They had somebody with a veil that would be like the Grand Marshal or whatever like this, and some of the early imagery was kind of weird. But it seems like even into the 80s, people were saying, well, we should get away from this VP business, and they slowly phased that out. So it was the VP Fair of St. Louis, I think, and then it just became like the Fair of St. Louis, and they kind of like got rid of a lot of that.
Yeah.
But during this show, I think they talked about like the civic and all the things that this organization does, and it seemed like very good. And I'm not, you don't want to cast aspersions or anything. I think it's more like in the background, like the historical background. There's some shady things if you look into it.
Yeah.
But
That's shady.
yes,
Shady things.
thank you. So yeah, I don't know why I brought that up.
Oh, yeah, just because it's the VP fair. So we
Yeah,
needed-
well, they say it a lot, and
Yes.
yeah, and again, it's less than pristine audio and everything. And I was wondering what they were saying too.
Yeah.
And I actually had to, wife of the show, Lori, actually like physically couldn't watch some of the beginning because of like the flickering and everything. So I had to like kind of go back and watch it later. I think Oprah kind of explains more the mission of the fair and everything. But really, what is more American than a fair? You got your state fairs. I, had a more than a passing familiarity with fair culture when I was growing up in central Pennsylvania.
Yes, you don't like to talk about it, but you were a carny.
Well, yes, I did have a carny phase. Yes, that's right. Yes, we'll have to save that for another episode, maybe. One of my favorite superheroes, of course, is Mr. Terrific, who stands for fair play.
Yeah.
So this is kind of nice. I like this. And St. Louis is a city that doesn't really get as much publicity as other big cities.
True.
So it was kind of refreshing to have this big event take place from that venue with the historic Gateway Arch in the background and a nice spectacle, I thought.
Here's the thing. For some reason, I had a memory of the All-Star game being played there in the 80s, and it wasn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
I was thinking it was the 50th All-Star game because I believe the 50th All-Star game took place the same year as my grandparents' 50th anniversary. And for some reason, I thought it was St. Louis, but no.
Well,
so I don't know where that came from. I might have watched this thing.
Yeah.
It seems vaguely familiar in places, but
St. Louis baseball was huge in the 80s.
Yeah.
The Cardinals, Ozzie Smith, Whitey Herzog. I detested the Cardinals back then.
Yeah.
I was like a Mets fan in the 80s. The Cardinals were kind of one of their rivals in the division and everything. So I didn't like that. And plus they had Vince Coleman, and I was a Ricky Henderson guy, and Vince Coleman was like stealing a lot of bases, and I was like, no, I don't want anybody to be stealing more bases than Ricky Henderson. So
yeah.
So now you go back and you watch them, and it's like, oh, they were a fun team. They were running and everything, and Ozzie Smith. But yeah, that was probably one of the city's big things in the 1980s was the Cardinal baseball team, and they've got a very rich tradition of baseball in that city. So I understand why you might be surprised that an All-Star game didn't take place there in the 80s. A couple of World Series did.
Don't know. It's not important.
But interesting nevertheless.
Yeah.
I've never been to St. Louis.
Really? Okay. I've been there a few times.
Yeah.
I've been in the Gateway Arch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And the museum below it.
Is it as impressive as it looks on TV?
It's kind of a cool little. You're riding these little carriages up to the top. You look out and ride down.
Did you see Ben Vereen or anybody while you were there?
No. I wish I had.
Yeah, a bit.
Yeah. There was a big like a grizzly bear stuffed in the museum.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah. And then I went there for a friend of the show, Dan's wedding. It's the gateway to the West. It's where Lewis and Clark started their expedition to the West. And you cross the Mississippi, so it's centrally located.
Now, in California, do they call it the gateway to the East?
Yeah, you would think they would. And when I visited there as a kid, we were coming from the West. It was near the end of a big trip out west, and so technically it was the gateway to the East for us. Yeah, interesting. Maybe they should, depending on what side of the river or what side of the arch you're on.
Yeah, could easily work both ways. That's probably part of the media's East Coast bias, that it's more known as the gateway to the West.
Yeah. I mean, technically, it is also west of California, since the Earth is round.
That is true, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
everything that's east is also west.
I
believe Oprah said that.
Yes. I can say that's some veiled prophet type stuff right there. That's deep.
Yeah. We know this was on July 4th.
Yes.
1987.
And the crack research team, I don't know if we've really given it its due this season, but
no.
Boy, they come up with some interesting stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
So I asked them to look and see what else was on that night. This was a Saturday, and there's nothing like a holiday on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Especially 4th of July. That's like a perfect day for July 4th, right?
Right.
Because you can have fireworks, whatever, blow your head off and eat too much, then you still got Sunday to recover. Mm-hmm. So this must have been great.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I was doing back then on this day in 1987, but I must have been doing something crazy. Running around, sowing my wild oats. Who knows what?
Yeah, rigging another game at the carnival.
Yeah, probably. But, in a patriotic way, I'm sure I was doing it.
Is there anything more patriotic, really, than being unfair at a fair?
No, I don't think so. I mean, people expect it.
It's capitalism.
Yeah, they expect to get ripped off.
Yeah.
It's part of the show.
You know what would stop that?
What's that?
Carnival literacy.
Yeah. I have never heard anyone make the case for that as strongly as you just did. Very true. Right. Very true. Well, on this July 4th in 1987, so ABC, 8 to 11, all primetime, you got this Star-Spangled celebration. That takes care of ABC. On CBS, you had Space. Do you remember the James Michener miniseries? And it was like one of the episodes of Space.
I believe James Garner was in that.
Yes, that's right. Followed by West 57th. Yeah, it doesn't sound as expansive as Space.
West 57th.
Yeah, West 57th is a very, very deliberate space.
Yes.
That, of course, the news magazine CBS presented back in the 80s.
Edgy. Yes.
Oh, yeah, it was hit. It was cutting edge.
Was that the one with Meredith Vieira and
I believe it was, yes.
Steve Croft and
yeah.
some other people?
Yeah. Okay, NBC, a night of reruns. 227.
Uh-huh.
Okay, not a rerun, but sitcom that didn't last very long, Me and Mrs. C. This didn't last very long at all. The premise was like an old white lady rents her place out or sublets part of her apartment or to a black female ex-con. And somehow they become like close friends. Hilarity ensues, apparently. Golden Girls at 9. Amen at 9:30.
Yeah.
And Hunter at 10.
Yeah, that's pretty standard night.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, but now here's where we get into some other stuff. So PBS had Evening at the Pops in Boston. Mm-hmm. John Williams was there. And also a Capital Fourth.
Yeah.
From, of course, DC.
Yeah.
And
the gold standard.
Yeah, I believe so, yes. And Channel 11, which I've mentioned many times on the show, WPIX, they had, and this was, I believe, probably syndicated around the country, but something called Celebrate the 4th, which was essentially fireworks sponsored by Macy's. So Macy's it's not just about Thanksgiving Day floats.
Yeah.
It's about fireworks.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I guess they don't combine them, I hope, at the same time. You don't want fireworks going off when they...
None of these, really, giant balloons and fireworks don't square with the Macy's image to me.
Really? I mean, to me, I'm so used to seeing the parade.
Yes, but I mean, to me, Macy's is like upscale,
right.
semi-upscale.
I see what you mean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the Kohl's fireworks.
Yeah.
And I'm not casting aspersions on fireworks or on Kohl's.
But,
fireworks are for everybody.
Right.
Giant balloons are for everybody too.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, please, to our 2 to 11-year-old demographic, stay away from fireworks and let the adults handle them.
Yes.
But really, they're for everybody, and they can enjoy them.
Yeah, and be careful with balloons.
Yes, please.
Yeah. And, parents maybe be a little cautious about how much helium you buy.
Yeah.
Because as we know, there's helium shortage. So we just...
Wow. You've really been invigorated by watching this special, Mike. I notice you're spitting fire today. With I'm proud of you.
Oh. Finally taking a stand on something.
Yes. The important issues of the day. Yeah. I see what you mean. Macy's did have that kind of upscale. I didn't grow up with the Macy's.
Right.
But I wonder if maybe everybody else, just like the rest of the world, kind of went more downscale. It kind of makes Macy's seem more upscale in comparison now. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, Macy's bought some department store in Georgia at some point. So we didn't have it for a long time. But
well, so we've covered everybody else except, and now this is something that I thought was interesting that I totally forgot about this. The same night, HBO had something called like Welcome Home, which was from 9 to 12, a big concert with a lot of stars and celebrities, and it was dedicated to raising awareness and thanking like Vietnam veterans in particular. So it was kind of interesting. I thought that you had, I guess, not directly competing.
Yeah.
But again, it was something else, and I think like the special we're going to talk about was taped on Friday, the day before, but. I believe the HBO was taped the same day or something. I don't think either one was live. And you'll see as we go through this special, it's got kind of a rock and New Year's Eve feel in the sense that they go to different venues and they put some things together clearly, so it wasn't all like seamless or anything. But,
right.
But yeah, the Welcome Home. There's a lot of I don't know if there's a whole concert of it, but there's a lot of footage of that online available too. It was interesting. I think Chris Christopherson and some other folks were involved with that. I think that was a little bit more like rock music involved and maybe a little bit less general entertainment like this is.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was the night of television on July 4th, 1987.
Well, I'm just going to read off this list of celebrities or people who were listed in the credits. And I don't have it. I think because of the video problems, I had to kind of look at the description too to get some of them. So they're not in the exact order. And try this. I don't have my reading glasses.
I do think we missed a few of them, because of various things. And there were some edits to the special.
So co-hosted by Oprah, who we mentioned, and Robert Urich of Spencer for Hire. And other guests include Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Alabama, the band, not the entire state.
Yeah.
Peter Allen, Atlantic Starr, Tony Bennett, Carol Burnett, Richard Chamberlain, Chubby Checker, and the Wildcats, followed immediately both in credits and on the show by Angie Dickinson.
Interesting.
Coincidence?
I don't know.
I think not.
Yeah, probably not.
Loretta Lynn, Dwight Yoakam, Suzanne Somers, Jennifer Holliday, Bernadette Peters, the Jets, the band, not the football team.
Yes, they do.
Ben Vereen's Big Band Orchestra, including Ben Vereen. Phil Driscoll and 500 Voices. The Goot, Steve Gutenberg.
I almost forgot about him.
Malcolm Jamal Warner, Barbara Mandrell, Someone Named Peter.
Someone named Peter.
That's where it cut out, and I don't know. Lee Remick, Yakov Smirnoff.
Yes.
Barbara Walters, Dennis Weaver, and that's all I got.
Well, I don't think you really missed anybody that I know of.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. There were a few. Did we mention Suzanne Somers?
Yes.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize.
How could I not? She took up half the show.
Yeah.
And Chubby Checker took up the other half.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's celebrated from all over America, of course, including St. Louis, where Oprah apparently is on top of a building overlooking the fair, or the park grounds. And then Robert Urich is on this stage that's the size of a football field.
Yeah.
Which is necessary because of the 500 voices.
Yes, you got to have a big stage.
Oh, I forgot the Rockettes, I think.
Okay.
The Radio City Rockettes. Not to be confused with
the Bedrock Rockets?
Yes, the Bedrock Rockets. I got to say, Oprah and Robert Urich make a good team.
You liked their back and forth, did you?
Yeah, despite the fact that it was being across a park.
Yeah.
Across the city.
Yeah.
I'd be less the back and forth, and they just both did a good job of hosting.
Yeah, I thought Oprah is totally like Oprah of that era.
Yes.
She's exuberant.
Earnest.
She's exactly what you'd expect. Urich, I think, brings like kind of like a really kind of like likable sensibility to it. Like sort of like, without calling attention to it, sort of like I'm not really a song and dance guy, but I can be here, I can be enthusiastic, and I can have a good time, and he does that well.
Yeah. And he gets the crowd to all turn around and say, hello, Oprah.
Yeah.
And then the Rockettes come out and dance to, I guess, a Sousa march. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of like a really
medley.
Extended Sousa medley, I think.
Okay.
Very extended Sousa medley.
And, it's the Rockettes kicking legs, doing shapes. I don't know. A lot of it was not visible on this clip.
Yeah, I think Peter Allen was in here somewhere,
Oh,
but
okay.
I didn't see him really, so.
Right.
He didn't sing, apparently.
Well.
I guess he wasn't playing the piano. I don't
What's
know
the
what
point?
he was doing.
Yeah. Just dancing?
Just dancing?
Oh, excuse me.
Just dancing? Peter Allen? Excuse me? I can only speculate. I don't know. Unfortunately, I was not in the version we screened, I think. But I just want to mention that he was there, apparently. Maybe he was one of the 500 voices, for all I know. It could be, too.
Right. But then we kind of get the first instance of this literacy part, and it's they mentioned it's the 200th anniversary of the Constitution also, and that this hidden threat of illiteracy affects 1/3 of the population. But it's never too late. And Oprah gives us some facts about the Gateway Arch.
Yeah.
Which is not nearly as old as I thought it was.
Yeah, I was stunned by that. What did she say? February 63?
Yeah.
Did I hear that right?
That's when they started, and it was finished in 65.
Wow. Yeah, that really caught me off guard.
Yeah, I thought it was some like World's Fair leftover or something.
Yeah,
But it's a national
honestly,
monument.
I thought aliens put it there. With the
Yes.
the Egyptians built it using technology from the aliens.
Yes, it's also the gateway to the multiverse.
Well, go figure. I was wrong on that one.
Yeah.
Maybe I need some literacy lessons.
And it's talking about that the Meet Me in St. Louis is the theme for this year's St. Louis VP fair at the park there.
Can't believe they didn't use that one before.
Yeah.
This must have been about it should have Meet Me in St. Louis 6, but
Right.
It was unofficially.
And we get some footage of the fair pre-filmed and an air show.
Probably the only time an air show footage was shown in 1987 without Danger Zone playing in the background. I might add. This is a remarkable achievement.
Yeah. Boy, I wonder which of these events Kenny Loggins was at.
Ooh. Yeah,
I bet he's probably on that HBO thing.
Yeah. Maybe he was chilling watching Golden Girls and Amen. He just decided to sit this one out.
Yeah. But, there's some concerts, people playing games, parades, and Warren Burger signing autographs. Former Chief Justice Warren Burger.
Chief Justice
Or Chief
Warren
Justice,
Burger.
yeah, not former,
Yeah,
right?
wow. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and we get...
Back in the days when the Supreme Court was, there were rock stars back then,
Yes.
It was a really big deal back then.
Right. I hope he was also serving burgers.
There were plenty of them to be served,
Oh,
it seems like.
yes.
Could have pitched in.
And there's a literacy testimonial, and, they're all very nice. Most of them are pretty much the same.
Yeah.
My life was difficult, and then I learned to read, and it was better.
Yeah, that's the way it should be.
Yeah. Also, there was a thing where a coupon you could get, which would give you $1 off at many of the amusement parks in the country, and the parks then, or the park association, would give $1 donation to this organization, Read America, Win America, I think or is it One America? I think it's Win.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with that organization.
No, I'm still not. I tried.
Yeah.
That also leads to an entertainment segue. We get some footage of Six Flags Over Texas, which apparently was originally going to be called Six Flags Under Texas, or Texas Under Six Flags.
Huh.
But Texas isn't under anything. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think they made the right choice.
Yeah. It is mostly an opportunity for Oprah to do her famed Texas accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gave a lot of pub to Six Flags Over Texas, but appropriate since they had this theme park thing, and
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. They had this contest. I didn't quite follow all of it, but they're doing something, and people are putting their money where their mouth is and doing something so good, and giving everybody a chance to do something to directly or indirectly benefit the cause without necessarily pulling out their checkbook and writing a big check.
I mean, saving $1 at an amusement park doesn't really sound like a spectacular deal, but
Not now. I guess
No.
back then, it cost you what, like a nickel to get in or something like that, and maybe a penny
you
a ride.
I mean, you would know.
Yeah. Well, it cost us a nickel per person to run the show, and we
yeah.
charged about $20 for
Right,
people to get in. Yes.
But the band Alabama performs their song "Vacation." That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So they were performing from
Six-
Alabama was performing from Texas.
Yes, from Dallas.
Yes. Yeah. They were in a good mood. They seemed to be. Yeah. So this was kind of like was this probably like the tail end of Alabama's peak?
Apparently,
I guess.
yeah.
I guess the early '80s was really when they were huge, and now
Yeah.
they were still prominent, but not as mainstream popular as they were a few years earlier. But still,
I did a little reading up on them. It took them a long time to get going, get successful. The entirety of the 70s.
oh yeah, I didn't know they were
They
active
worked
all through
under
the
some
70s.
other names and stuff, but yeah.
Like Alaska and
Yes.
Arizona.
Yeah, they tried Arkansas. Yeah. They tried them all. But they sounded good. They were kind of rocking, and those harmonies. Mm-hmm. Those Alabama harmonies are really nice.
They've got chops as a band.
Yeah, and the spectacular verse. Going swimming in the blue hole and fishing with an old cane pole. Because I can't be like Walter Mitty. It must be real. It must be right. Because it's dog eat dog to the pinnacle, and success is an uphill fight.
Ooh, that is something else.
Yeah.
That is Americana.
Fishing.
Yeah.
Walter Mitty.
Yeah. I'm disappointed that they didn't rhyme
And
anything
capitalism.
with Mitty.
Yeah.
But yes, that's right. They close with some. Yeah, that they got a lot in there. That's efficient songwriting.
Pinnacle and Mitty. Those rhyme, right?
I don't know. Maybe I need some musical literacy lessons. That something doesn't sound right to me, but
Right.
But yeah, I'd like the Walter Mitty reference. You don't get a lot of that in music.
That was why I looked up the lyrics. 'Cause I'm
Yeah.
like, did he say Walter Mitty? Carol Burnett. talks about literacy. A little disappointing when you're going to have Carol Burnett on, but that sets the pattern.
Yeah, I think you expect a little bit more from some of these celebrities.
Yes. And then we get the first of many little segments where we get footage of celebrations in other locations. So in New York City, they hang a big flag from the George Washington Bridge, and high school valedictorians are on Liberty Island. In Monroe, North Carolina, they have a Jello jump.
A Jello. Oh, was it Jello jump or Jello dump?
Oh, I don't know.
You know, there's probably not much difference.
What happened in the footage? Do you remember? Were they jumping into Jello, or were they dumping Jello onto people?
It looked to me almost like they were dumping a person onto Jello. So, you know, it could go either way.
Okay.
You might be right about Jello. It didn't look like much of a jump to me, but now that I think about it, it was more of a jump than a dump, probably. But
it's not the first time you've said that.
No. All I know is that there was only about like 5 to 10 seconds of footage, and it really seemed like it could have been a whole Real People segment there.
Right.
More than anything else on this program, I think.
And then there's a bit of a parade in St. Louis, and there's a Yankee Doodle float, which is a salute to George M. Cohan and the musical Yankee Doodle Dandy. That is the name of the musical, right?
Yes.
Yes, and, you know, I expected that to be the song.
Yeah.
It was not. But Ben Vereen in a gold sequin jacket and suspenders, and he had a look going on.
Yeah, I thought he was supposed to be Wonder Woman at first.
Yeah.
What is, right?
Yeah, his red shirt with an eagle on it.
Yeah. Maybe the idea was that Yankee Doodle Dandy itself was maybe closely associated with Jimmy Cagney.
Yeah.
So they did Strike Up the Band, I think, was the song he did.
Which it was a little bit, at least when it started, it was like mildly disco flavored. Whenever there's a thing where somebody's singing in a parade, it's like, well, how is this working? You know, is it like a lot of the Macy's parade, a lot of times, not Ed McMahon, but a lot of times it's,
right.
You know, clearly lip syncing.
Yes.
But this seemed like a real performance.
I think it was.
I have no idea how they, you know, worked out the mics back then. I mean, now it's a lot easier to do that stuff. But yeah, and he's got a band and some dancers, and he's dancing in the street, dancing on the float.
Ben Vereen's a consummate pro. He can make anything work.
And then, you know, at the end, he even said, let's strike up the band for literacy.
Yeah, I like that. Very earnest.
And after that, we have Robert Urich introducing Dwight Yoakam, singing some uniquely American music.
Yeah, I like Dwight Yoakam, and I like this performance.
Yeah, it was cool. Little Sister, and he's doing what Dwight Yoakam certainly did back then, wearing a giant hat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Doing his little
shuffle.
His sort of Chuck Berry, whatever those moves he.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and he's got a good band. It's good.
Yeah, I like that.
We have Oprah again, another testimonial, this time by a 60-year-old man, a black man named J.T. Pace. And he wanted to read because he wanted to find out what was in the Bible, which I liked that. I thought that was interesting because the printing of the Bible in the languages of the people, that's like an important historical thing in the West.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, so I thought that was good. This guy wants to know what's in it for himself. And I mentioned his name because he's going to come back later.
Then I think we go back fourth across America, as I call it. Right?
Yes.
Some more segments of that.
Milwaukee, Paul Molitor, and another guy.
I was kind of curious who the other guy was. I don't know offhand. I didn't recognize him offhand. I did recognize Paul Molitor.
Yeah.
We'll get the correct research team on that and find out who that was.
Yes. They kind of flub there, wishing everyone a happy 4th of July.
Yeah, you know, reading cue cards is part of literacy too, you know.
Yes. Hey, Paul Molitor, he couldn't be good at everything.
That's true.
Or no one ever gave him a Golden Voiceover Award.
No, I don't think they did.
I don't know if he won Golden Gloves, but I think he did. He was a good fielder, right?
He was more MVP than PSA.
Yeah. And a bicycle parade in White Marsh, Pennsylvania. And did they have a bicycle parade where you grew up?
Not that I remember, no. I think I would have known that, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, I didn't know this event.
And Cincinnati, it's a hot day, so people jump in the fountain.
Yeah, and they also, you know, they filled up that fountain with some of that famous Skyline chili Cincinnati's known for. It was wonderful.
Mm-hmm. And in San Diego, there's a parade that includes military people and surfers.
Yeah, that
makes sense.
Pretty good. You learn a lot about the local cultures around the country. What a vast and diverse country it really is.
Yeah. We get the punchline of some joke that Robert Urich made about sewing machines and women.
Yeah.
Didn't go over well.
I'm really curious about that one.
I assume it also has something to do with 1910.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Because they already mentioned that's when Meet Me in St. Louis was written.
Okay. I was assuming some kind of Betsy Ross reference, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It could be.
Okay, well, this is a bigger mystery than Paul Molitor's teammate.
Yeah.
But I would have loved to have heard the setup to that. But you're right, it didn't go over all that well.
Yeah. I wonder what it's like to hear, like 10,000 people groan.
I don't know.
Or 5,000 women groan and
Yeah.
5,000 men biting their lips. Whatever.
Well, as an actor, Robert Urich's a fine performer. As a comedian, he's no Yakov Smirnoff.
But it's his way of introducing Suzanne Somers.
By getting the crowd nice and upset with it.
Yeah. Who performs Meet Me in St. Louis. And she's also wearing gold. Quite a lot of gold. And it starts out as like a kind of a bluesy, jazzy cabaret.
Yeah.
Then it kicks into overdrive, and it's this big and brassy thing, and she's dancing, and she's, it's fun. I don't think of her as being a song and dance lady, but I guess she does that stuff too, right?
Yeah, I think she had a big Vegas act for years. Maybe still doing some of that. I don't know, but yeah. And then she had some primetime specials, I think, back like at her peak, where she was, trying to get herself over as a singer and dancer as well as an actress.
Right. And then after the song, she says she's happy to encourage literacy, especially since she played a dumb person on TV for so long.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And then she introduces Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy from Company B, and she leaves, and there's a big dance number. Not the Rockettes, I don't think. Other dancers. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh, okay, we'll just sit back and watch the dancing. And then she comes out and she sings eventually in a new outfit.
Yeah, that's right. You got your money's worth of Suzanne Somers in this special, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of a surprise. I thought it was just a transition, but it was just she just went off stage so she could do a costume change. Mm-hmm. She worked hard.
She did. See, some sort of service club from Oregon wishes America happy birthday. And then we see some footage of a greasy pole contest in Charlotte, and then people partying in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, a bunch of Yinzers in Pittsburgh doing the city proud.
Yeah,
it looked like there was some alcohol involved in a lot of that.
I think so. And maybe all those shirtless guys on the pontoon boat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Richard Chamberlain encourages volunteering to help teach people to read.
Yeah, that was a different angle for this point in the show. It was a nice message.
Yes. And Oprah talks about an amusement park in Missouri called Silver Dollar City, and it's a mix of the 1880s and the 1980s. So you see some like old-timey, I don't know, blacksmithing or something, and then a log flume.
Yeah. Two great decades to combine.
Yes. And most importantly, performing there, Yakov Smirnoff.
Yes, the icon himself.
This was my favorite segment. And very strange.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. And I really enjoy it. And I actually have my What a Country vintage button here to show my support for the USA and for Yakov Smirnoff. But now, what was the deal with this? Like, this was clearly pre-taped, right? At first I assumed that Oprah was just like, that they were retrofitting her questions to act just stuff that was in his routine.
Yes.
But I guess some of the comments were tailored for the special.
Right.
So what's your take on this whole segment here? Yeah, they show Yakov on a stage doing a comedy routine.
Right. He's there to do his comedy routine, but then it's an interview where Oprah's setting him up for these jokes.
Yeah.
But it is the literacy. So I didn't know if, they filmed him, a producer was asking the questions and filmed him and then filmed her separately, because there's definitely another segment later where that's the case. Or if she really was. Either way, it's very awkward.
Yeah. And
Oprah's not, God bless her. I mean, she's a great broadcaster, but this is not her strength.
No. And there were a few times where it seemed like she was kind of shouting out her questions like she really was physically trying to make herself heard.
Right.
But it's Oprah, so you can't be sure that, that's what she was doing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how far away she was from Silver Dollar City at that point, but...
You think she was just shouting from a rooftop?
I suspect that's what she was doing. Yeah. She was actually trying to, but Yakov, handled it smoothly, and I don't know. I mean, and you get you get some classic Yakov humor in there. Yeah, the interaction between them was weird and not really necessary.
Yeah, and Oprah's like standing with her hand on her hip, almost like that's like it seemed like if you were a comedy duo, maybe the woman setting up would be standing there with her hand on her hip like that.
Yeah,
almost like in a slightly sassy way. But the questions are very straightforward.
Yeah, it wasn't like
it's like she asked him about his immigration or whatever, or becoming an American citizen, and then that sets up some jokes. And what do you like best about being in America? Warning shots,
Yeah. She wasn't exactly like Bud Abbott here.
No.
But,
like it starts like you're right. It starts like a routine. Like she introduces him and he just starts doing, he says, I'm originally from the Soviet Union, and nobody reacts.
Yeah.
And then I think he says the difference is in the U.S. you have freedom after you speak.
Yeah.
And he talks about, he was on Ellis Island when he became a citizen, and he was the last person there and got stuck. And they're FBI people, like wearing grenades and things.
Yeah.
And he's like, I felt right at home. But then he tried to photograph them and they ran away. So, they say freeze, you say cheese.
Yeah. That should have been a T-shirt.
Warning shots. So the joke there is, in Russia, they don't shoot up in the air. They shoot you in that warning shot for the next person. Powdered. He was amazed when he got here because they had powdered milk.
Yeah.
You just put water in and you got milk.
Yeah.
Powdered orange juice. You add water and you got orange juice. And baby powder. What a country.
Yeah. Get in the what a country.
I'm making my family tonight.
And the crowd seemed to, he had an enthusiastic crowd.
Yes, yeah.
And this is the kind of thing that was really, we sort of joke about Yakov, but it was a unique act and back in the 80s, and it really appealed to like a lot of Americans because he was kind of making fun of Russia and kind of confirming our worst fears and suspicions about the Soviet Union. While affirming, what we like about the United States.
Yeah.
Despite, and also poking fun at our foibles.
Yes. Did he have any problems adjusting? Well, yup means yes in English, and in Russia it means sex. What a country.
Yeah. That was about as PG-13 as I've ever heard Yakov Smirnoff work.
Was English difficult? He learned English from watching TV for 3 months, and then he realized it was a Spanish station.
Yeah, that was
But eventually he learned to read it, and that was very important to him, but it also, this was just like, well, English is confusing things. So he sees an ad in the newspaper, big sale last week.
Oh, yeah.
Why, if the sale already happened, why are you getting an ad?
Yeah.
We guarantee our furniture, and we stand behind it for 6 months, and that's the problem. In Russia, people are always standing behind his furniture.
That's right,
something.
yes.
Yeah. But through literacy, he learned all his freedoms.
Mm-hmm.
That, makes sense.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
It tied together. Fun segment.
Yeah, weird. But
Yeah.
and after some more literacy stuff, a little banter from between Urich and Oprah. He's talking about all the great food they have down on the stage. And Oprah's stuck on this roof, and he's gonna send her some food, and then Tony Bennett comes out. And there was a recorded earlier there, but since you said the whole show was recorded earlier, I guess that wasn't specifically about Tony Bennett.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they took it's like, okay, we're going to take this opportunity to put this up, so, this applies to everything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So he sings a Gershwin song. I believe the original is The Man I Love, but it's been rewritten as The Girl I Love. And then left my art in San Francisco.
Yeah.
He's very Tony Bennett.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised, he didn't have to do that, He could have at least added some pro St. Louis lyrics in there, like just talk smack about San Francisco. That would have been kind of interesting, but it was good.
I guess Suzanne Somers stole his thunder.
Yeah, maybe.
And Jennifer Holiday later.
Yeah.
They got the two St. Louis songs.
Boy, any singer, that's the kiss of death trying to follow Suzanne Somers. It's a thankless job.
And I did have to look up his hair situation.
Okay, so what's your verdict here?
It's apparently well known that he wore a toupee most of his life.
Okay,
or has worn one most of his life. He went bald very early.
Yeah,
but it's gotten much better.
Yeah,
that one is not. It's unfortunate. You can see like the tan line, where the tan line is on his face.
Even in an old VHS dub,
yes,
you can tell. Yeah. Right. It's unfortunate.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm glad you verified that.
Okay, staring at it for 6 minutes.
No, that's good.
But fine performance, of course. And then we have Oprah interviewing the Secretary of Labor, William Brock, about literacy and the economy. And this very clearly is stitched together.
Yeah.
First of all, he's in an office in D.C. on film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not via satellite.
Yes.
It's too bad they didn't get him to appear before the crowd. He would have been a big hit, I'm sure, Get to see Secretary of Labor William Brock.
Right.
Not even like the main Secretary of Labor in the Reagan administration. This is the guy that replaced the other one. The better known Secretary of Labor in the Reagan administration.
Do you remember when there was a controversy involving the Beach Boys performing in D.C.?
Oh, yeah, that's right. That
was James Watt.
The Secretary of the Interior at the time, I believe.
He wouldn't let them.
Yeah.
Because of their liberal views.
The Beach Boys. In the 80s.
In the 80s, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that, but yeah.
And he's this guy's Brock is mostly just talking about the economic benefits of literacy.
Mm-hmm.
There's a tiny bit of like, oh, we've added 13 million jobs in the last few years.
He got that in. He's very on message.
Yes. Other than that, it's fine. And then the Oprah gets her food delivery. Some concession stand guy shows up on the roof with a box of food. And then we go to Barbara Mandrell's house in Nashville, where she's having a huge party.
Yeah, what a spread.
Yeah, she talks about literacy a little bit, and she gets a request to sing from one of her nephews.
Yeah, rather intense nephew.
Yes.
The way he made that, it was like an urgent plea more than a request. I was a little concerned for the kid.
Right. So she gets out a boombox and plays her backing music, and then walks around the party with a wireless microphone singing "Sure Feels Good." And taking time to say hi to people, give them little hugs and things. And it ends with her sitting down with, I presume, her husband.
Yeah, we hope so.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
They have a nice,
He's pretty cozy with him.
Parents kiss.
Yes.
Yes, they're not.
That's right.
There's no Frenching.
No.
As they said back then.
Yes. Well, it's American Independence Day, so keep it USA.
And then we get some more things from around the country. And I wrote down my note, Boston greeting. And that I know they're just saying happy birthday or whatever, but a Boston greeting that sounds potentially like a bad thing.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to get one of those.
And some sort of Revolutionary War reenactment in D.C. I didn't remember that ever happening here.
Yeah. I don't think that's a thing anymore.
Including a Thomas Jefferson impersonator reading the Declaration of Independence on, I think, the steps of the Lincoln Memorial.
Yeah, well, get everybody involved there.
Yeah, you can't get a big crowd at the Jefferson Memorial.
Well, Sam Waterston was at the Lincoln Memorial, or was at the Jefferson Memorial, reading the Gettysburg Address.
Yes.
So they had to get this guy over at the Lincoln Memorial.
And a parade in Caldwell, North Carolina. I think that's where they say it's like the biggest small town parade or something.
Okay.
I think. Kareem talks about literacy. Steve Gutenberg talks about literacy.
Steve Gutenberg was really happy to be there.
He's always happy.
Yeah, he is.
I don't know if he is in real life, but
I made a joke about. I won't repeat it here. Okay, I'm going to repeat it here.
All right. Yeah.
Well, we were watching. I said, it would have been funny if Steve Gutenberg had added, if I could read better, I wouldn't be suffering through these horrible scripts, and my career would be much better than it is right now. But he was so I shouldn't do that. And Steve Gutenberg is 3 Men and a Baby time, right? So this is pretty good.
I think so. Yeah, Cocoon time.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Then Oprah gives a little history on the Columbus, Georgia ironworks, which were opened a little before the Civil War, and then they made Civil War weapons, and then made other things, and now they've been turned into this entertainment center. And we get a performance from Atlantic Starr, their big song "Always."
Yeah, and some spectacular hair by these performers. I very much enjoyed that.
Yeah, good performance. I had that album.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nice, and I feel like they were on a lot of TV shows around this time.
Could be, yeah.
It was a big hit.
Yeah.
And they had that Secret Lover one before that.
Mm-hmm.
Lovers. Their testimonial, and Jennifer Holliday comes out and sings St. Louis Blues or St. Louis Blues.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Certainly, yes.
She owns that giant stage.
She does.
There's a Dallas parade on a suburban street, which I believe is the littlest parade they could find in a big city.
Okay.
But that was cool. A little, they had a little parade just in their neighborhood. I like that. Phoenix Rodeo, people river tubing in Phoenix, and some Girl Scouts wishing America happy birthday. And then I think some stuff maybe got cut.
Yeah, I believe so.
But when it comes in, Robert Urich is attempting to dance the twist.
A deceptively difficult dance.
Yes.
If you're not experienced at it.
Then he introduces Chubby Checker and the Wildcats. A couple things. One, Chubby Checker was only like 40-something at the time.
Yeah.
And they do a medley of every rock song ever written except for the twist.
Yeah, that was amazing.
It was.
Amazing. A guy that recorded like 15 variations of the twist.
Yeah.
And he didn't do it in this one.
No. This is the list I have.
Okay.
I might have missed something.
Okay.
Because they're all sort of done to the same music, I think.
Yeah.
I'm the Man.
Mm-hmm.
Good Golly Miss Molly.
Gotcha.
Ooh Wee Baby. I think that was a different song.
Sea Cruise. Won't you let me take you on a sea cruise? Is
that the title, or is that?
I think. Yeah. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hound Dog.
Yeah.
Rock This Town Tonight. I didn't look up that title either.
I think Maybelline was a couple of
Oh, maybe
a little
okay.
bit of Maybelline was in
Yeah,
there too.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, but,
Boney Maroney.
yeah,
Shake, rattle, and roll.
yeah,
I saw her standing there.
Yep.
Whole lot of shaking going on.
yeah. I think you got it. Yeah.
Yeah, no twist.
I
He does some dance. He says, this isn't shaking. And he does a little bit of a twist.
yeah.
And this isn't shaking. And he does some other thing. And then he does some shaking.
You know, I love this performance. This
Yeah.
is one of my favorite things in the whole show, actually. He was out there working hard, and he was entertaining. He got the crowd into it. He came out with high energy. I mean, to be fair, knowing that he only had to do 10 minutes or whatever and could go full tilt. But I really enjoyed this. I was like, man, Chubby Checker in the 80s was probably a pretty cool act. Probably,
Yeah.
It was a good, you'd have a great time going to see Chubby Checker.
And he's got like this rockin', I mean, it seems like they're almost like a punk band he dug up or something.
Yeah. They didn't look like contemporaries of his at all.
No. But it's pretty cool. And I give him credit for dancing in cowboy boots.
Yeah.
Checkered cowboy boots.
Yeah.
Because he was showing up around this time on things singing the twist.
Yeah. I think
Or
you're
lip syncing the twist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his voice is much more sort of gravelly than you think of with Chubby Checker. Mm-hmm. It was cool. It was definitely a highlight.
And kind of cool to have like a medley of really old school 50s rock songs. It fit in nice at this part in the show. Good segment.
Yeah, and then Angie Dickinson, as I mentioned earlier, she's just there to talk about literacy. She mentions that those guys had been able to read contracts. Maybe Mexico wouldn't have been so bad. No. A testimonial from ex-con. Some film thing about Capital City ABC that got cut off.
That was cut, and that was something I really wanted to see because it looked like it had the potential to be very entertaining. I'll just say that. And I believe that was, I think a big chunk of the special was cut from the version we were watching here.
Yeah, and then we missed an entire song except for the very end from Bernadette Peters, which was also disappointing.
Yeah.
But then she and Robert Urich are pretty flirty.
Yeah. Those two look good together on stage.
Yeah. And then there's a testimonial from Wally Amos, also known as Famous Amos, who got his GED, dropped out of school and later got his GED and eventually amassed a fortune for making cookies.
Yes.
It's good. I didn't know there was an actual Famous Amos.
Yeah, when they said it was a guy that made cookies, I thought they were going to introduce, Dave Oreo. But they decided to go with Famous Amos, and it worked just as well.
Right. Wonder if he named it Famous Amos before he was famous.
I don't know.
That's some confidence there.
That is. That is some brass. But yeah, that was interesting. Kind of a case study and a celebrity testimonial, sort of. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, I learned to read and got rich.
Yeah, and they give some phone number you can call to find out where to get your GED. Mm-hmm. This is footage of a fair in Del Mar, California, and then the Jets perform, I think, at that fair. They're
that's
hit Cross My Broken Heart. And this is the one song I question the liveness of.
Oh, really? You think it was
because I think it had a fade out.
Oh, yeah. I didn't notice that, but yeah, well.
But I don't know. It was very spirited.
Yeah, you might be right on that one.
How many hits did the Jets have?
Well, they had a pretty good run. I think it was maybe not that many albums, but on those albums, like, You Got It All, I Got a Crush on You, Cross My Broken Heart, All Over, You Got It All Over.
And I think they kind of point out that it's a good American story.
Right.
They're immigrants from Tonga and naturalized citizens, and it's a family and all that.
Yeah, good for them.
Malcolm Jamal Warner on the importance of literacy and the growing importance of literacy in the job force. Get a happy birthday from Niagara Falls. Kids fighting firefighters in some sort of game in Kansas City. And in Buffalo, people go to Canada to ride a roller coaster.
Yeah.
We'll have to ask I'm
not so sure what
someone about that.
Yes, I'm curious about that too.
And then there's like some party at the Wichita State Football Stadium.
Yeah, back to Kansas.
Yeah, Kansas City is in Missouri.
That's true. I apologize. Oh, that was a faux pas. Okay, now it makes a little bit more sense, but still.
And then there's a few commercials in this clip that weren't cut out.
That's right.
Anheuser-Busch, not surprising.
No, yeah, this is in their wheelhouse. This kind of program.
Well, and St. Louis.
Yeah, that's right.
A version of Stand By Me. DuPont Stainmaster. Nothing more patriotic than that.
No.
And then an old El Paso, past the old El Paso commercial.
I love that jingle back then. That was one of my favorite commercial jingles, the old El Paso.
Starring white people.
Yeah.
Which, maybe to be fair, those are the people who eat old El Paso.
It might be. I enjoyed an old El Paso product back in the day, and to this day.
Hey, they helped bring tacos to America.
Yeah, Hey, I'm thankful.
Barbara Walters on literacy and how its connection to voting. We all have the right to vote. Obviously, literacy is no longer a requirement for that, but it is useful. Yes. She doesn't say all that, but
it does.
I'm adding that in there. The point that it helps you understand the issues and all that. Testimonial from a young woman who couldn't read but still got good grades.
Yeah.
So her teachers didn't know. I know that happens, but
yeah, she really gamed the system, I guess.
Yeah, but no, she learned, and she regrets that happened. And then we get the beginning of the finale, which is this Phil Driscoll, who's a trumpeter and a singer, and the VP Fair chorus of 500 voices, and they do Battle Hymn of the Republic.
Now, is it true that Phil Driscoll is known as the Joe Cocker of Christian music? Because if not, he should be.
Yeah, he certainly reminded me of him. I mean, his voice did. And
yeah.
I guess he had a little bit of his physicality, too.
Some of the pained mannerisms are similar.
Yes. I don't know if I knew he was a Christian. That makes sense. And Philadelphia, some valedictorians from the whole tri-state area of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. So the Delaware Valley, I guess. Wish happy birthday, Independence Day from Philadelphia, and they show a little bit of Independence Hall celebration, and then a lot of outdoors events in San Francisco. And then Dennis Weaver talks. He's currently filming a TV movie about illiteracy, where he plays an illiterate man who learns to read. Then yes, the wife of the vice president, Mrs. George H.W. Bush.
I mean, you got to hear it to like the way they introduce it. I mean, that's really the way, but they do it like in a momentous thing. Like, and now the wife of the vice president of the United States.
And I assume like how they get introduced the White House has to sign off on that.
Yeah.
That there's probably this is how you introduce a second lady. Whatever.
Yeah, there's protocol.
Yes. I noticed she was wearing an uncharacteristic pink dress.
Yeah.
Instead of her more traditional blue.
Good point.
But
yes.
She had her pearls.
That's right. That's right.
And she gives a nice speech about education, and then it introduces J.T. Pace, who we saw earlier, and he comes out, and that's got to be nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
A guy who's only learned to read a few years ago, and you're on a stage in front of thousands of people.
Right, and you're reading one of the most famous documents in the world.
Yes. So it's the preamble to the Constitution, and the one weird thing is she's like, let's all say it together. And so, like, there's hundreds of people trying to say this. Yeah. I don't know if it was, like, on screens or something.
Yeah, I hope so, yeah.
I sure don't remember.
I think some people were just saying the pledge.
Yes.
Some people were doing the national anthem. They were just winging it.
Right. It's like, I don't know, something out of the Life of Brian or something.
Yeah.
And then Phil Driscoll and the singers do America the Beautiful, plus fireworks.
Yeah.
And then, Oprah and Robert Urich sign off, and he gets the crowd to wave goodnight to Oprah, and that's about it.
Yeah, that was quite a night of entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I had to pick my favorite acts, I think the Chubby Checker segment was probably my favorite.
Yeah.
I like the Dwight Yoakam.
Uh-huh.
And, I'm curious about that Jell-O event in North Carolina.
Yes.
But those would probably be the top three if I had to pick.
Yes, of the Jell-O.
Yeah, I think I'd put that in the top three.
I mean, I would put Yakov up there.
Okay, yeah.
But it's entertaining, maybe not for the reasons he intended.
I think Yakov might get my individual performer award.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He was very good, yes. So as far as like the best chemistry, maybe Urich and Bernadette Peters, that's a pretty good choice. Yeah. Not Yakov and Oprah.
Right.
That was a little disjointed. A real hodgepodge. I tried to find some information about this, and the only thing I it's behind a paywall, so I didn't see it, but the LA Times, I believe, panned this special the next day in the paper. I don't know what any other major media outlets thought about it, but they were not impressed. I'm kind of curious to read the whole thing, but I was not able to see it in time for this podcast.
Yeah, it is a little all over the place.
It is, yeah. It's kind of ambitious in its scope. I mean, they had a big element of live performance and also these taped bits, which it looks like they just got from ABC affiliates around the country, get some B-roll or whatever.
Yeah.
Send it in. And I guess there were some like welcome messages like happy birthday, United States of America, so overall an ambitious effort. Made me feel good about the USA, made me feel patriotic, made me feel good about reading.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I like the cause and I understand using this platform for it. But I did feel what I probably felt watching these kinds of things as a kid, a little bit impatient to get back to it's like watching the Jerry telethon or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's or a pledge or PBS pledge trip. You're like, just get back to the thing.
Right. Yeah, I can understand.
And it's sometimes a shift in tone from sort of just entertainment to these very earnest little pieces. And
Yeah, I won't argue with that. I will say that I do think that they kept most of the testimonials pretty short, and I think overall the pacing from what we saw was pretty good on the special. They did keep things moving fairly well. So it was a pretty brisk 3 hours probably at the time, of course.
Jam-packed.
Yeah, we didn't see it like interrupted with, commercials the whole way through. So, it obviously went by a lot faster for us. But yeah, cool little, tribute to all that and a little bit of a time capsule of 1987 as well.
Yeah, like we talked about, you don't really see anyone putting together these giant shows like this anymore.
No.
Other than sort of the Capitol Fourth.
In a lot of times, I think, like in the last, in more recent years, it's like in response to something bad happening, and the tone is going to be different.
Yeah.
It's going to be more somber as opposed to something like this, which is celebratory, but also raising awareness or funds for especially for a specific issue.
Right.
It kind of reminds me of, we haven't really talked about this on the podcast yet, but the comic relief specials, that was like a big thing that was slightly different emphasis, but I think homelessness was what they were working on. Yeah. You'd have the muscular dystrophy telethons. Yeah, you'd have a lot more of this, and it seems like in the 1990s they started to taper off with these things.
I'm sure they're expensive, and again, it's that sort of the shift away from the variety format.
Yeah. Well, look at, this diverse cast of just talk about trying to appeal to as many people as possible and something for everybody. You've got Alabama, Chubby Checker, and all Suzanne Somers, just all kinds of different acts, Bernadette Peters, which we didn't really see a lot of, and sort of like it's just really like that whole old school, variety show, like you say, mentality of getting as many different kind of acts in there as possible, so that there's something for everybody instead of targeting it more narrowly. But yeah, it's definitely an approach to lots of things that you don't see as much. I think as a TV special, we've talked about some of the sort of weirder aspects of the production. I mean, it was reasonably well done. I don't know. I thought a lot of the direction during the musical numbers was pretty good. But I think maybe some of the overall production, there were some things that could have been a little bit smoother.
Like maybe it was like a weird combination of ABC News and entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was sort of looking in the credits, and I didn't see anything that really stood out to me.
Was Roone Arledge involved?
Yeah. Wow, that's a good question. I don't believe he was.
Or was he sitting at home watching the Golden Girls? They didn't get me involved.
The Golden Girls got its highest rating ever for a repeat this night for some reason. But I'm kind of curious to check out some of that HBO thing now, that Welcome Home special on there, because I didn't remember that at all until reading about it here, and I think there was probably some interesting performances on that.
I think that probably came up in passing, at least in the HBO oral history I read recently. But I mean, the thing's so long that who knows what came up in it now.
Right.
But I think because they did talk a lot about the live events that they used to do, although that apparently wasn't live. And also they did do a number of things about veterans issues. I don't know if I have anything else to say other than if you can't read, learn to read. Yeah. If you don't have carnival literacy, get some. Right. And TV literacy.
All of that.
Yeah.
Make sure you learn how to read so you can go to our website.
That's right.
battleofthenetworkshows.com and read more about this special.
That's right, yeah.
And we'll have some the show notes and everything and all kinds of information that our crack research team can assemble about this particular program.
Well, we hope so.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see you again. And happy birthday, America. You gonna say happy birthday to America?
Happy birthday, America. This episode brought to you by Red, White, and Blue. This episode also brought to you by hot dogs, America's food. This episode also brought to you by a surprising lack of Ed McMahon. Join us next time for another exciting episode of Battle of the Network Shows. Learn more, leave feedback, and suggest future episodes at battleofthenetworkshows.com. Follow us on Twitter at BatNetShows and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Battle of the Network Shows.